Hey everybody, it's Peach from DIY Fitness Club here. Welcome to another episode of the DIY Omega Arms series. And if you do not know what Omega Arms are, then I suggest you watch this video first. It will give you an overview of the various exercises that you can do with the Omega Arms. This episode, episode 2, focuses solely on how to build them. Anyway, let's get to what you came here for, the step-by-step DIY tutorial of how to build the Omega Arms. All right, step 1, we need to determine how long we want our 4x4 to be. So what I've designed here is a 3-inch overhang on both sides. So all you need to do is measure from the exterior edge to your other exterior edge and add 6 inches. So for me, it's 48.5 inches from edge to edge plus 6 gives me a 54.5 inch long 4x4. All right, step 2. Now that we've determined the length, I'm going to center the 4x4 on my rack. To do so, I've already measured and marked 3 inches inward on both sides. So now I just need to take that mark and line it up with the exterior edge of my rack. All right, step number 3. Now that we have it centered on our rack, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark the position of the holes onto the 4x4. And you can see we've marked the holes from the rack. Step number 4. Now I'm going to measure and mark the center both widthwise and lengthwise of the 4x4. Okay, now that we've measured and marked the center both widthwise and lengthwise of the beam, we are now ready to place some 45s on here. So I'm going to take my first 45 and I'm going to put it right here where the two lines meet, dead center of the 4x4. Now I'm going to take a spacer. I'm using a 1/2 inch nipple and I'm going to place it against the 45. Then I'm going to take another 45-pound plate and put it right here. And another 1/2 inch nipple. Once you're confident that all the 45s are lined up perfectly on that center line that you drew, go ahead and take a pencil and we're going to trace the center hole onto the 4x4. All right, and now we can remove the 45-pound plates. Now I'm going to take my speed square and I'm going to mark the exterior edges of the circles I just drew. All right, we are ready to start drilling. Okay, so the first set of holes we're going to drill are the holes where we actually traced onto the beam through the back of the rack. Remember that? It just happened. Okay, so let's zoom in right here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, closer look at that. So this circle that you see is the circle that we traced onto the beam through the back of our rack. Okay, so what I did was I marked the boundaries of the circle using my speed square, and I marked the lengthwise center of the beam, and where all that intersects is this mark right here, this dot right here. And that's exactly where we're going to put the tip of our spade bit and drill our first hole. All right, so we have our first hole. Now, the drill press didn't actually get the bit all the way through, so I had to raise it up and then try for a second attempt. And I'm going to have to do that for all my holes, and you will likely have to do the same. All right, now we're going to flip it over and drill the hole on the other end. All right, so we have our first 2 holes. Now take this down to your power rack and make sure that everything fits before drilling any subsequent holes. So to determine the position of the next set of holes, we need to build our handles. So this is going to be the most critical part of this project. Okay, if you screw this up, you might have to start over. So what I have here is 6-inch nipples, and the length doesn't really matter for this. These are going to be interchangeable. Okay, and I've got 3/4 inch nipples and I got 3/4 inch elbows. So I'm going to put those together, and these are going to come from the store all gunked up, so clean them beforehand to help with subsequent disassembly. Maybe even put a little grease like I did on the threads. Okay, just hand tighten those. We're good to go. Now I'm going to set these down for a second. Here I have a 10-inch long 3/4 inch nipple. Okay, and what we're going to do with this is we are going to put some thread locker on the threads of this 10-inch nipple. And now we're going to take this guy, put him on, and put this guy on. Okay. And we'll hand tighten that. Okay. Now make sure it's straight before it dries, okay? Okay. Now the reason why this is important is because the looser you make it, the longer it'll be. And the tighter you make it, the shorter it'll be, okay? So this is the length we're going to go with. Now I'm going to use this to determine the placement of the holes. So I'm going to put this end over the hole I already drilled right here. And I'm going to put this end right on that center line I drew earlier. And then I'm just going to go ahead and trace it. Okay? And then we're going to measure and mark the center of that circle I just made and put the tip of our drill bit right there. And I'll do the same thing down here. Okay? And now we can get to drilling. All right, moment of truth. Here we go. Perfect. All right, so now we'll drill the other hole right here. And moment of truth. Perfect. All right, so we are in the home stretch now. Now the last 2 holes we're going to drill are going to be so that this can sit right here in the center of the beam. So measure the length and then measure off your center line. So for me, I'm going to put a hole right here, and then I'm going to use this to template where I'm going to put its cousin hole over here. All right, so now I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put it right over that hole I just drilled, and I'm going to determine where the next hole will be by tracing that position. All right, so we are going to drill right here. All right, last hole. All right, moment of truth. Perfect. All right, we are done with our first unit. Now repeat all those steps and make a second one, an identical one. But the only way you're going to be able to make an identical copy is if the two handles are the exact same length. Now this is the first handle we made, and we already know that it fits perfectly. This is the second handle I just put together. I already got the thread locker on there, and I hand tightened it and it wouldn't fit. So I took my pipe wrench and I tightened it to the point where it slips perfectly into this unit. And now I'm in a position to make an identical copy. Okay, I finished the second unit and it is identical to the first, meaning that the handles work interoperably with one another. And now I'm going to do a little light sanding. All right, now we're ready to add our 3/4 inch floor flanges, and we're going to be placing these centered on the holes that we made when we traced the interior holes of our 45-pound plates. So get those centered on those circles, and then try to make sure that they are as identical in placement as possible between the two beams. And once you've done that, you are in a position to begin pre-drilling and then adding 3-inch deck screws. All right, since we use 3/4 inch nipples, we should be capable of using both standard size weights with 1-inch holes or Olympic size plates with 2-inch holes, okay? Now the problem with using the Olympic size weights, however, is that it's gonna rattle around on the nipple when doing certain exercises. So we are going to build an Olympic plate adapter for 3/4 inch nipples. So to build an Olympic plate adapter, you're going to need 2 of these. This is a 1-inch Schedule 40 PVC cap, okay? And what we're going to do is we are just going to cut the top off, okay? So that's what this is going to look like, okay? I'm just going to pop this right off. Okay? So, and I already have my other one right here. So I have 2 of them. Then I'm going to take an 1.5 inch Schedule 40 PVC piece, cut to length for the nipple I happen to be using, and I'm going to take these 2 1-inch pieces and just stick them inside, okay? Okay? And the other end. All right. Now we just take the Olympic plate adapter and stick it on our 3/4 inch nipple, and then take a 3/4 inch cap, screw that on, and now this thing is locked into place. So now when using Olympic size plates, no more rattle. All right, so now we're going to take 3/4 inch floor flanges and we are going to put them on top, and then we are going to pre-drill, and then we're going to use 3-inch long construction screws, just like we did before for all these other floor flanges, and that'll be the last step before we paint. All right, to make the brackets, I'm going to be cutting a 7-inch piece of 4x4. All right, now take the block down to your rack and measure it so that it is centered on 3 of the rack's holes. Then we're going to take a pencil and we are going to trace the position of the top hole and the position of the bottom hole. Then remove the clamp, and we have marked the position of the rack's holes. All right, now we're going to drill these holes using a 7/8 inch spade bit to accommodate 1/2 inch nipples. And the other hole? All right, now it's time to attach the bracket to the rack. And I'm going to be using 6-inch long, 1/2-inch nipples with 1/2-inch caps on the end. All right, now this is a 2x2 rack, and you might have a different situation, but when I put this on, I don't quite have enough threading being exposed on this side to securely attach this to my rack. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shave off just a hair, about 1/8 of an inch, so that I can expose more threading through these holes. There you have it. All right, last step of making the bracket. So we're going to drill the holes on the side of the bracket, okay? This hole was made using a 7/8 inch spade bit, and it will accommodate 1/2-inch nipples, just like these holes. And this hole was made using a 1 1/8 inch spade bit, which will accommodate 3/4 inch nipples. So once you've done that, you're done with the bracket, okay? Now use this finished product as a template to making another identical bracket. Same length, same width, same hole position. All right, we are finally done, okay? We have our Omega attachments, we have our 2 brackets, and now all we got to do is paint. All right, we got our brackets, we got our Omegas, and now let's go use it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't go yet, don't go yet. I know I said we're done, but there's one more thing we have to do. Okay, after more extensive use of the Omega arms, I soon discovered a much needed safety enhancement. So what I did was I added 2 floor flanges to the underside of each arm. The reason being is you're going to want the ability to quickly add or remove a stopper arm, okay? And what that does, it stops your head from getting crushed. So that's important. So as far as placement, what I did was I marked the edge of this first floor flange, and I marked the edge of this second hole. And then I measured and marked the center line between the two. And that is where I placed my floor flange. Okay, I did the same thing down here. And of course, I made both Omega arms identical. All right, that's it. Now let's install the Omega arms to the power rack. I have my first bracket here, okay, and I have a 6-inch long, 1/2-inch nipple with a 1/2-inch cap on the end, and I have a 1/2-inch T-connector. So what we do is put this right here, and then I'm going to take my T-connector and screw that on. All right, now I'm going to take another one, I'm going to run it through also. And just make sure it's nice and tight. And the other side. Okay, now both brackets are on. All right, now that both brackets are on, I'm going to take this 60-inch long, 3/4 inch nipple, and I'm going to run it through the holes in my bracket. And then make sure that you put caps on the end so that this bar doesn't slide out when you're using it. So when you want to hang an Omega arm, all you do is take a cap off one end, slide it down, okay, and then slide the Omega arm on it. Okay, and then obviously we want to put 2 on. And that's all there is to it. And of course we can adjust the width along that 60-inch nipple. Okay, that concludes this episode of the Omega Arm series. That's how you build the Omega Arms. And when you build yours and you want to brag about it on Instagram, be sure to use the hashtag DesignBuildLift so that I can help you promote your post and feature your creation via my account. Now, there will be many more videos to come in this series, each one targeted at a specific exercise and a specific configuration of the Omega Arms. So, be sure to subscribe to the channel to be alerted the moment each episode drops.